It is the 20th day of the new year, and yet the incumbent president is yet to put forth his ministerial nominations to Parliament. Even before he does that, it appears something is cooking in the House as far as the Appointments Committee is concerned that holds serious consequences for governance and its ability to constitute its government and to govern this particular country. And we're going to be teasing a lot of that. It came up on the floor yesterday when the constitution of the Appointments Committee was first broached. And we're going to dig into that and how Parliament intends to deal with this matter, because we anticipate that in the next 24 hours, the president will send to Parliament his first list of ministerial nominees, and then the key issues here will begin to play out. And so let's look at some key issues that we need to be bearing in mind as we approach the names going to Parliament, as we anticipate the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, this is the constitutional charge when it comes to the role Parliament plays in the confirmation process. I will come to the relevance of this very shortly. I mean, we all know the Parliament is key, but the president has no power to appoint anybody when it comes to ministers. It's Parliament that does the confirmation. So he's just simply nominating. This is in essence what the Constitution says. But then it comes to which group in Parliament does the specific job of interrogating the president's appointments. It's the Appointments Committee. Now, the composition, and this is where some measure of controversy has revolved since yesterday. Because it says, according to the standing orders of Parliament itself, there shall be a committee to be known as the Appointments Committee, and the composition is interesting. The first Deputy Speaker will chair, and not more than 25 other members. Now, as it stands now, I'll come to the formula and how the committee has been composed currently. Does it mean that the Deputy Speaker, the first Deputy Speaker, can be construed as a member of this particular committee, so properly construed with a voting right? I mean, that is something that is in disagreement, because that is key. If it has voting rights and can do so, then we'll see the composition would become even, as the NDC side in Parliament has maintained. But if it doesn't, as the MPP side has maintained, then they will be shortchanged in the way the current Appointments Committee, possibly one of the most important, especially in the wake of the current nature and architecture of Parliament with the numbers there, will be one of the most important committees in the next few weeks, as we will begin to see. I'll come to why this is important shortly, the composition shortly. But its functions is also interesting, right? The duty of the committee is to recommend to Parliament for approval, or otherwise persons nominated by the president. They have to send a nomination. They have to send their recommendations rather to the House for approval, and parliamentary approval of the persons recommended for appointment shall be by a secret ballot or by consensus. Now, this is absolutely key. Remember that this is a Parliament that is dead even in terms of the numbers on both sides of the aisle, the NDC and the MPP. We anticipate that this year, the current president will see that a lot of the nominations, some of them, and it could be actually a lot, will have to be approved by secret ballot. That's possibly what we are going to see play out in the coming days and weeks. And if it comes to that, the Composition Appointments Committee will give us an indication first, and then we'll see how this plays out before the committee. But it has serious implications for governance and government, and we'll touch on that. This is the purpose of this conversation tonight. Now, the system of voting, either to approve or reject, secret ballot. Now, candidates who fail to secure 50%, you need 50%. You need 50% of the ballots to get through. So this numerical value here is important. So right now, with Parliament at 137, 137, one independent, you probably will need 137. If you don't get 137, which is 50%, the orders say you are rejected. This is, you begin to appreciate how tense this is going to be. Possibly the reason why the president, 20th day, even when he got in the first time, he had brought in his ministerial nominations way before the 20th day of January. He is in the second term, and many thought second term easy, right? Easy, bring in the nomination. He hasn't done so because he knows if you don't put forward the right names that can build consensus, you will struggle to constitute your government and do your business of serving the Ghanaian people. Now, I talk about the formula. This is currently how the Appointments Committee, in fact, right now, there are only two committees that have been constituted in Parliament, only two. The Business Committee and Appointments Committee, because it's so key. It's so key in helping the president constitute his government, and that's why they've done so. But this is how it stands. The MPP and the NDC have 26 total members on the committee. The MPP has 13, the NDC has 13. So again, at the Appointments Committee, it is split down the middle. If it comes to a vote, if the two sides manage to whip their members, you're probably expecting 13-13. There's a deadlock, right? A deadlock. There will be a recommendation to the House somewhat. That is also going to be fascinating. The House will have to, again, replicate this on the floor. You can begin to appreciate what this president is going to face with these permutations as it stands now. Now, Parliament, the Parliament approved the 26-member Appointments Committee, right? And the split is as you see. The MPP lost the voice vote because they raised an issue. They raised an issue that the MPP and the NDC, despite objections raised by the governing party, what was their issue? The issue was put to a vote. This is the MPP's objection. They said since the chairman of the committee has no vote, the 13-13 will no longer work. That is the MPP's argument. The MPP will have 12 members while the NDC gets 13 on the committee because in their estimation, as the wording of the constitution in the standing of the say, the chairman of the committee will have no vote. And so they will be shortchanged with 13. Now go back to this point that I was making here. Now, when this came to the House yesterday, it got to a voice vote, and the MPP lost this argument. So as it stands now, it's the 30 and 13 that will hold the Appointments Committee. I'm just whetting your appetite to what is going to happen in the next few days when the president sends his names to Parliament, as we expect to happen shortly. Now, the NDC side also says, well, the chairman of the committee is a member. And if so, then 13-13 system is accurate. He will vote. And so what's the big deal there? Well, that is the where we stand now. So for those who say, well, our parliament has been rubber stamping their nominations ever since the 1992 Constitution was promulgated, I have news for you. Even in good times, when the numbers are okay or heavily in favor of the incumbent government, there have been instances where appointments or nominations by the president has been rejected. In the case of a deputy minister designate for trade and industry, this is in 2007, he went before the committee, Appointments Committee, and they rejected him. Went to Parliament and again was rejected, and he didn't get the job. And so it's not beyond imagination that this is going to happen, especially with this government. The key, most important question we are going to be exploring is how does this affect governance of the country? First test. Many said, well, the way Parliament is composed is good. It's good for our democracy. But if you begin to think about this, the president in appointing will probably have to struggle to constitute his government in getting his nominations through, all of it, and getting them approved by Parliament in time so that he can get to the business of serving you. Implications of this for everything else Ghana. We're going to be talking about it tonight. I have guests who know their stuff, and they're joining me as we break this down, as we anticipate the names going to Parliament in the next 24 hours. Stay with me. Very fascinating conversation about to unfold here. And thank you for staying with us here on PM Express. My guest tonight on this edition is a man who, if you are a keen follower of social media speculation, which always happens when the new government has been sworn in, has been tipped by many to be our next Foreign Affairs Minister. He is Patrick Yeboah, Member of Parliament, and of course, he's also a member of the Appointments Committee and MP for Kankwei Central. Joins me in the studio. Hello, Patrick Yeboah. I'm grateful that you could join me.
Thank you. Good evening, and to our cherished viewers and the good people of Kankwei Central.
Great to have you.
And don't follow social media appointments.
I mean, Dr. Kojo Asante with the CDD, the Center for Democratic Development Ghana, Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement, is joining us on Zoom right now. Thank you, Doc, and Happy New Year to you. Always. I think we've spoken already. I've seen you on PM Express already, but let me say it nonetheless. He's not expecting any appointment, so he's fine.
No.
Sam Okujuta Blacko will join us also. He's a member of Parliament, also on the Appointments Committee. Will join us. MP for Norton will join us very shortly. Patrick Obama. So, I mean, let's deal with this that many people have seen. I've seen that too. They say your name is out there for Foreign Affairs Minister. True?
That's social media speculations. You don't deal with that. You deal with what the president presents to the speaker.
Okay.
And that is what the country is waiting for. I believe you rightly said that the president is going through some painstaking measures to ensure that he puts together a good team that will deliver on the mandate that the good people of Ghana gave him on the 7th of December 2020. And also to realize the vision enshrined in the MPP's manifesto in line with the aspiration of Ghanaians. So I believe that is what Ghanaians expect of the president, and I believe that he's going to do exactly that.
Let's start with some of the key issues that have come up yesterday as you constituted the Appointments Committee, of which you are now a member. Your side had issues with the composition, and you raised it on the floor. Why did he have issues with the way he stood now with 26 members on the committee, with the chairman being obviously from your side because he is your first deputy speaker? What was the issue that you have with that?
Not an issue per se, but the composition of the committee is governed by the rules of the House. That's the standing orders of the House. And Order 172 deals with the Appointments Committee and its membership, and has the first speaker, that is Honorable Joe Osei-Owusu, as the chair, with not more than 25 members. So, question is, if Joe Osei-Owusu plus the 25 members becomes a 26-member committee, looking at the composition of Parliament now and the ratio that was used by the Committee on Selection, which is chaired by the Right Honorable Speaker, you have a ratio of about 138, 137. So the Appointments Committee is an even-numbered committee, 26, so 13. The rules of the House, if you look at Order 2115, says that the person who chairs that committee does not have an original vote. Original vote in quote, meaning he cannot vote in the first instance, but in the event of a tie, he has the casting vote. Question is, if you look at the Constitution and Article 104 on voting and 104.2, you realize that the Speaker does not have an original or casting vote.
Okay.
So there's a clear distinction between the Speaker and the First Speaker. The First Speaker is a member of Parliament, and the Constitution guarantees him the right to vote. So if the rules of the House, which is subsidiary to the Constitution, and the National Constitution comes into conflict, which one do you use? The National Constitution, obviously. Resolving it has always been with practice of the House. My party's chairman, Honorable Freddie Blay, chaired the Appointments Committee. The Right Honorable Do Ajaho was first speaker, chaired the Appointments Committee. You had Right Honorable Barton Odro. He also chaired the Appointments Committee. And Honorable Joe Osei-Owusu, this is the second time he's chairing the committee. The practice has always been that, and as was all yesterday eloquently submitted by Honorable Muntaka.
Muntaka, okay.
And supported by Markin, that at every appointments committee, even with regard to that provision that I cited on the original vote and the casting vote, the first speaker has always voted. He's always voted for nominees and always formed part of members that are required to form a quorum. So it's a non-issue, but we wanted it to be settled that if somebody in the course of events tries to rely on the fact that NDC will have 13 members and MPP will have 13 minus 1 because of the speaker, that issue ought to be settled. And it was settled on the floor.
Which went to a vote and the decision was taken. So as it is now, 13-13, but there's a bigger concern there, is it not? Because what this means is, as it stands now, when the nominations do come, and we were told it will probably come in the next 24 hours, and the way Parliament itself, as the plenary, it's divided down the middle, there are real difficult challenges that the president will face in getting his appointments through. But then the implication of that is it'll ultimate implication on governance. In 2014, it took him up until April to have his final badge vetted. April, that's 4 months, first quarter gone, right? And that was a good time when he had overwhelming clear majority in the House. And he had submitted the names first week after his swearing in, right? First week. We are 20th day. It hasn't come yet, and yet this Parliament is waiting with all the complications there. That must definitely be of concern to you in the House on the side of the MPP.
Definitely. I'm a loyal member of the party, and I always want consensus to be built in the spirit of working together and cooperating for the good people of this country. You realize that in the president's inaugural speech, he reiterated that point firmly, that he would want to work with the Parliament headed by the Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Alban Bagbin, members on the opposition, his side of the House, to ensure that there's always collaboration and consensus building. In that regard, the president will always nominate people that I believe sincerely will go through the normal processes of the House. You can always have apprehensions about some of this numerical and strength in terms of getting 50% and the architecture of the House as it's composed now. But I believe that the president will always bring people that will sail through. We'll make sure that we talk to each other, we ensure that, because if that doesn't happen, like you rightly said, the development that we all aspire to see and the cohesion of government and the progression that we all want to see will not come to.
Yeah, I mean, so that is a key point. I want to bring in Dr. Pumpuni Asante on this one. Doc.
So,
go on.
To add on, the president has also, you were talking about the April cutoff point.
Yes.
Has given a clear indication on the size of government that he wants to have.
Okay, in fact, that's a big conversation we'll have as part of this.
Very well.
On the size. And because this all has implications on his ability to appoint as many as he wants. But Dr. Pumpuni Asante, I know many civil society groups, particularly the CDD, because you deal in the governance space, when we saw the outcome of the parliamentary elections, thought this is great for our democracy. But now that what we're seeing with the haggling even at appointments committee level, and the bad blood that has started with the speaker appointment and everything that we know had happened, 20th day, president hasn't come here with his first nominations yet. He's, compared to his 2017, he's late. Do you see the challenges that many fear will now ensue now, affecting his ability to governance well, I guess the specific thing I want to talk about is constituting his government in time to start work?
Well, I think, the issue of both it's a double-edged sword. The prospects of a hung parliament presents both opportunities and challenges. And I think we've seen both. I think we saw the ugly things in the election of the speaker, but we also have seen a lot of the discussion that has preceded deciding who was majority and who was minority. And I'm sure Honorable Boma will tell you that it required a lot of, working together, cool heads, prevailing, and getting a consensus around how to move forward. So it is really an opportunity if we make it an opportunity, and it can be a curse if we make it a curse. And I think honorable members are very aware of that. And Ghanaians are all trying to root for, this parliament to work so that, we can get the transparency, the accountability, all the governance outcomes that we yearn for. So, I mean, the processes you are talking about are also part of the governance process. The president has been elected to perform a job. He's to be held accountable. He's presenting ministers who will act on his behalf. We want to make sure that those ministers are fit for the job, are competent, are capable, are proving integrity. They satisfy all the constitutional requirements and so on. So that process must be allowed. And I would say that I would encourage the media, to also give Ghanaians the manage the expectation that they don't get frustrated by a process that is designed to achieve those kinds of outcomes. So I think for me, what I've seen after the challenges at the beginning, if Parliament continues that way, really we should be seeing a lot more successful issues, being resolved than acrimony and gridlock, because it's gridlock we don't want to have. But so far, I think that they're talking behind the scenes, and having somebody like Honorable Bagbin, the Right Honorable Bagbin, to steer the affairs, can really help us overcome this, what appears to be something insurmountable. But I think that I don't have a problem. I actually worry more that the process will be sped up because there's already a delay in getting the president's nominees out. So there will be a lot of an attempt to speed up the process, which doesn't give the public and other stakeholders an opportunity to really, send in their petitions if they have any.
I mean, Doc, you're that optimistic that this current parliament as composed will entertain a speedy process to confirm the president's nominations?
No, I mean, I call it speedy in the sense that, as I said, we're already late. The parliament is very aware that the president's nominees have to be, approved, go through the approval process. Of course, the Transition Act provides some sort of a stopgap measure, but it has limitations. So, I mean, that's why the Transition Act has representatives of the president in ministries taking care of things. But I'm sure the president wants ministers there who are able to have full legal responsibility and to move the agenda forward. But what I'm saying is that because the time is already constrained, Parliament will be eager to get the process started. And that already means that between the time you get the nomination and the time the appointments committee starts its work, there's always very little time for people to even say sending petitions or nominations if they have any issue they want to send to Parliament. So that in a way even makes that process a little bit limited. But everybody can understand that the challenge, there's already a lot of delay. But so I think that process is already speedy. Because if the appointment list comes tomorrow or the nomination list comes tomorrow, I'm sure that Robert Palmer might confirm that by Tuesday, the first sitting will be ready, even if it's not Friday. So that's what I mean, that it doesn't even give, if we're really going through the process, we would have a lot more time to be able to get the public to raise any concerns they have.
Yeah, you raise a very important point. I'll bring Mr. Bama in shortly, but also joining me is your colleague on that same committee, Samuel Kudita Black. Mr. Black, can you hear me? And thanks for your time here on PM Express if you're on the line.
Yeah, I can hear you, Evans. Thank you for having me. And regards to Dr. Bupuni Asante, my colleague.
Great to have you. Great to have you.
Good evening, Sammy.
I mean, exciting times ahead, and we're expecting the president's first nominations in the next 24 hours. But the Appointments Committee has been composed now. We know the issues surrounding even the numerical numbers on that. I mean, first of all, what's your take on that? It came to the floor yesterday. It had to be put to a vote. What's your take on that conversation around having 13-13 on the committee? Of course, the chairman is involved, and its implications on the way the committee would do its work this time under these unique circumstances in Parliament.
Well, I first of all would like to stress that we need to be positive about the outcome of the 2020 election. What the Ghanaian people have done in virtually giving us a hung parliament is to invite us to work together, and is to request of us to build for ourselves a legislative organ which is not subservient, which is not lame duck, which is not rubber stamp, which will be efficient in the pursuit of the principles of checks and balances and the need for independence so far as the three arms of government. This is the theoretical framework that scholars like Montesquieu, Immanuel Kant, Thomas Hobbes, and all those great minds propounded many centuries ago. So this is a positive development, and I get a sense sometimes that people are scared, people are worried, people think that Armageddon is upon us. I disagree, and we must also emphasize that we in the NDC, we are conscious of the fact that Ghanaians are watching. We do not have to be obstructionists. We do not have to be spoilers or saboteurs, if you like. Our mindset is to be constructive, is to pursue the supreme national interest. And I must emphasize that point, because you see, there is a way that if you are needlessly obstructionist and you just unnecessarily delay matters and prevent the important matters of state, what is in the national interest, from being carried out, there is a way that can backfire and your party will suffer at the polls. So we are rational. We are reasonable people. We have constituents. Imagine a situation where there is a water project coming to my constituency. The terms of the agreement are good. There is no corruption. The finances are okay. It's in the national interest. And we are just, for, if you like, shaggy reasons, as we say in Ghanaian parlance, using our numbers to frustrate that. When you get back to your constituency, you will pay dearly for it. So I don't think that people should be, if you like, needlessly worried. We should rather encourage this and see how we support the current configuration to work. If you come to the Appointments Committee, we have time-tested convention and constitutional provisions which we must adhere to. Order 1721 of our standing orders is very clear that the Appointments Committee will be chaired by the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament and 25 other members. So it gives you an even number of 26. 26 is a 26-member committee. Now, the Constitution and our standing orders also provide that committee membership must reflect the nature of the House. So we've always used a formula based on the strength after the national election. And when you do the formula, the ratio of 138 to 137, you get 50.1 and 49.87%. We rounded it up to a 50-50 ratio. And that gives us a 13 membership. These are matters which are settled. They are fair. It represents the outcome of the mandate that the Ghanaian people have given us. I think that for now, it is for the executive to be well guided so that you do not, as it were, present candidates or nominees to such a competitive committee, a committee where members of the NDC can have the right seat to bite. If you look at Article 94, it's clear what qualifies one to be a minister. You should, first of all, be qualified to be a member of parliament. It's stated that you shouldn't have any adverse findings against you from a commission of inquiry and all of that. Shouldn't be an ex-convict. There are other laws that guide us. For example, if you have not carried out your national service, you are not entitled to work and all of those things. In time past, parties that have the numbers in parliament have disregarded some of these things and have bulldozed nominees that have questions. And it has not reflected positively on our democracy and the image of our country. This time, the president does not have that luxury, which is good for our country. You are going to have a situation where the president will have to prioritize, if you like, competence, track record over just mere loyalty, even where there is questionable, credentials, questionable character, and all of that, which should be good for us, because in the final analysis, you will have these nominees who will go through, be sworn in after they've been passed by the House, and they can deliver. When you have competent, efficient people who are at the helm of affairs, you expect things to progress. Your country will develop faster. So all these things are positive. It is for the executive to make sure that you don't bring in, for want of a better language, with all due respect, questionable characters who have all kinds of suspicious background. Certainly, such a competitive committee will be forced to expose that. But let me also add, Ivan, that already we can see the benefit that we are deriving, even before the vetting starts. You are hearing that ministries that for a long time, since 2017, analysts, civil society organizations, you in the media, we in the opposition, democracy watchers, have questioned their relevance, the duplication, and all of that. For the first time, you are seeing the president. Remember that it was not in their manifesto. He continued to defend it even all the way into the campaign of 2020. But now, he is forced to reduce drastically these ministries. We are told that the Ministry of Monitoring is gone, procurement is gone, aviation is gone, Zongo development is gone, and a host of others. That is good for us. We are also hearing that he's going to reduce the number of ministers. That is something he continued to defend all the way into the campaign. Because of the numbers now, you are not even sure how many of these ministers will pass. You are seeing that we are going to have some savings on the national pay, that the number of ministers are being reduced. So you see the magic of the wisdom of the Ghanaian people, the current configuration of parliament, and the dividend, the democratic dividend that it is already yielding for us.
Yeah.
This is very positive.
Hold on then. You agree, Patrick Bama, to his assertions there?
Which of them, please?
The one he just made about you touched on it.
The size of government.
Yes. That this composition is almost forced the president to just do the thing that everybody said he should have done in the last 4 years.
Well, the president was given a mandate between 2017 and early 2021 to perform a certain task. He had a certain conviction that looking at the task ahead of him and what he inherited, he needed to increase the number of appointees to achieve a certain result. Having achieved that result and having gotten a second mandate, clear mandate to govern, he believes that what I set out to do in my first term with this number of ministers, I've achieved it. So I have to go back and reduce the size of government to perform the second task that has been given to me. So it's all about conviction and what you seek to achieve. Because if you take sector by sector, in terms of those ministries that he's scrapping, you can also point to a lot of achievements in some of the sectors. Okay, you talk about the aviation sector, you talk about the monitoring and evaluation sector. It was the basis for which you saw some of the deliverables that the president used in his campaign. You could talk about the Zongo development and inner city. You come to my constituency in Fadama. That ministry has built a multi-purpose mini sports stadium there. The Ansaruddin School in New Fadama is going to be reconstructed. There's a fund. You see, if you go to the Middle Belt special initiatives, there are a lot of achievements that you and I, sitting in a big city, will not see. But those in some communities have benefited from some of these ministries.
But I guess the point is, making, if that's what you're saying is true, then why is he taking them off?
Now, I told you, from the outset, I said that
he's achieved the objective.
As he's achieved some considerable objective with that size of government and those ministries. Mind you, he's going to reduce the size of government. The number I know is about 75.
Not 85, assuming so.
Yes. What I know is 75. It could be, maybe he's changed his mind. It's possible. Some of these ministries that he's collapsing will be under some of the existing ones.
As either units, departments.
Under units, departments, maybe local government, rural development. It's possible.
Yeah.
So it's not as if their purpose will be whittled away, but they may be put under certain ministries to
your colleague Okujo Tablako's point is that we have the dividend. This is happening because the president has been forced to do this.
He's talking about saving on the national press.
Yeah, because of the composition of parliament. He knows that if it comes with 100 and something ministers, this very empowered committee, of which is a member, will not tolerate it in the interest of the people.
Let me give you this scenario. If the president sends, let's say, the Zongo and Inner City Development Ministry to local government, and local government had a budget of, let's say, approved budget of 300 million, and with this ministry being collapsed and being brought under this, under the local government ministry, increases their budget to 500 million. Would there be a saving? We are not looking at a personnel in terms of a minister or the structure or administrative block or wing of that ministry. We are looking at a kind of investment that the president will want to inject into developing our Zongos and inner cities, which maybe he will put under the Ministry of Local
Quick comment also on the other thing he said about the president dare not bring people with questionable characters.
I didn't hear the word dare not.
Oh, well, that's mine. I mean, but I guess there's a point he's making.
Well,
that if you do that, he says, well, we'll expose them.
But he posited that comment under Article 94 of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And the president has gone through that process before. He will not bring somebody who is bankrupt, who doesn't qualify to be a member of parliament. The president is aware of the provisions under Article 78, 79, and 256 of the Constitution in terms of appointment of ministers, deputy ministers, regional ministers, and the consultation that ought to take place within the ambit of the Constitution. So I believe that the president will appoint people of character, good character. And I believe Okujeto said they will not be obstructionists. I believe he's a friend. We served on committees, and we are buddies. I know that their constituents will also be watching them from afar, from North Tongue and wherever, that they do what is just, not to be obstructionists, and to be fair to every appointee that the president brings. If you have anything that the person has done that conflicts with the provisions of the Constitution, you can raise it. The good people of this country will be watching the vetting. That if you want to attack somebody for purposes not founded or grounded in law, they will know that it's either a personal issue that you have with a person or something like that. I know my colleagues on the other side, Honorable Harry Naidrisu, Minority Leader Muntaka Mubarak, they all have their positions on matters. But I believe that if you're able to come and excel, I don't think any of them.
Let me bring Dr. Kojo Asante. One of the biggest criticisms against the Appointments Committee and Parliament itself when these matters of appointment and nominations come about is that they've often become, they have become nothing more than rubber stamps, right? Just, it's almost automatic that when the president puts somebody forward, regardless of concerns that the minority may have, now we don't have a minority so defined. As we know, that has become a big matter. It's been a bigger criticism. What's your expectation of this parliament that's currently constituted? Bearing in mind all the things that Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa had said.
Thank you. Let me make a quick comment on the size of government.
Please do.
I think our views have already well known. That we always have thought that the size of government, then the position that the president has taken, for me was not tenable. I think the argument that the bigger the size of government, the better your achievements. A lot of the things that we are talking about could have been done by department. So it's really where is the counterfactual that if we didn't have that number of people, we wouldn't have been able to build a stadia or some development project across the country. I think that we really need to get to have some consensus about the number of ministers that should work and not leave it to the discretion because somebody comes and they say they want to appoint 200 people. We really need to get to some consensus around this, and I hope maybe this might be the beginning of it, and not just occasioned by the circumstances we have currently with the hung parliament. Now, to move on to that issue about the appointment committee just being, perfunctory in their responsibilities. The problem has been that when you have a large majority, sometimes no matter what issues are raised, what petitions are brought, and we have seen that in previous times that sometimes there are real questions about a particular candidate, but they still get passed on because one party might have a big majority and therefore they're still able to move the process forward. This time it can have consequences, and I think that's where maybe questions that might be raised would have actual impact if the person is not able to respond to them satisfactorily. But Honorable Boama is right. The Article 94 and the Constitution in terms of who qualifies to be a member of Parliament is quite basic. It's always been the challenge has always been whether or not issues of moral turpitude and competence and other things can weigh in. I think that Parliament is within its rights to raise those matters, and indeed people have raised those matters in the past. Whether or not then that becomes a basis on which Parliament disapproves of a minister, I think is still a question. But I believe that these are important to public officers who are going to be agents of the president to perform certain duties. So that matter, I'm sure, will come up again during this period. But let's hope. One of the issues which I hope that I don't know how they're going to resolve it is appointees actually sitting on committees. and interrogating themselves, which obviously raises a conflict of interest. But given the numbers, I doubt if any appointee want to withdraw from, being a member of parliament. And then parliament can suspend his rules in respect of that, where another appointee might have to recuse themselves if they are, have been nominated. They cannot sit on the appointment committee and interrogate somebody and then come and sit on the other side as a nominee. I think some of those things need to be resolved before the committee, sits. And I don't know if there have been discussions around that.
Okay, I'll put that question to them right after this break. Stay with me. My guest as we wrap up tonight on the PM Express is Patrick Yalbama. He's a member of Parliament, member of the Appointments Committee, Okankwe Central MP. Also tonight with us is Samuel Kuduta Blakwa. He's a member of Parliament and Appointments Committee, also MP for North Tong, and Dr. Kudu Asante. Samuel Kuduta Blakwa, so as it stands, in the next 24, 48 hours, you've been told you will expect the first names to come to the House. There's many say we expect that a lot of these names might go to secret ballots, either at the committee level or at the plenary, and that there is a sense that is, as you've articulated, good for our democracy. In terms of your own thinking, knowing what happened on the night of the election of the Speaker, I mean, what's your own expectation on how this might play out with all these unique circumstances that we're facing?
Yes, so it's important to emphasize that when the nominations are made, the Right Honourable Speaker will refer the nominations to the Appointments Committee. However, the standing orders requires of us to allow for the general public to submit memoranda on the nominees, those they know, and if they have any issues to raise. It's more like what is done in church before prospective couples are wedded. If you have anything against a couple, why they should not be joined together, raise it or forever hold your peace. So typically we have at least 10 days to allow for the general public to make input. So that will limit us in a way in terms of how expeditious we can get. And that aspect of the standing order is very, very important because the 26-member committee may not be able to gather enough information, do enough background check, and we may not know the nominees as well as people out there who are not on the committee but who may have worked with them, who may have come into contact with them and all of that. And often the memoranda we receive from the general public has pointed us in very, very good direction. So that is something to look out for. And that is why I am quite worried about the delay. I thought that after the committee was formed yesterday, we could have had the first batch of announcements, especially with the Ministry of Health, because I am getting increasingly frightened about our COVID situation. It's getting out of control, over 2,000 active cases now, and we don't have a substantive Minister of Health that can respond to policy and deal with the matters within a paradigm shift. If you look at the Presidential Transition Act, caretaker ministers cannot influence policy.
Yeah,
they must stay away from policy. Yeah. So it means that as it is now, it's just, the old policies, it's just autopilot, and we are not responding to the new threats as we should. So I hope that the first batch will come as quickly as tomorrow.
And we are hoping, we've been told that we should expect this in the next 24 hours. But could you talk like a grateful very much that you joined me? Let me give you a final word to you. The thing about the speed versus doing a good job. Dr. Asante raised it. What's the thinking among the committee in terms of doing it? Because already there's a delay, right? And so I've seen the document from Parliament. the urgency of getting government business along. How do you draw them? How do you hope to achieve that balance?
Well, I know that Parliament is resolved to work very, very fast and to deal with the nominations that will come before us. We are mindful of the rules and room that it gives to the public to provide information on nominees. We are also...
Will you sacrifice that, will you?
I don't think so. We may abridge time if need be, because you heard my colleague talking about the need for a substantive Minister of Health.
True.
To take immediate steps to deal with
the COVID,
an emergency, a pandemic. So why would we wait for 10 days? But
let me ask you, why has the president taken this long? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll take your word for it. Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Boama. The doctor is Dr. Kojo Asante, who joined us from the CDD. And of course, you had our friend and his colleague in Parliament, Samakujo Tablakwa. We'll wait to see, in fact, if the president will keep to the time frame we've been told. Tomorrow, we should expect the first names drop, and we'll analyze a few of them. And maybe he may be nominated as the foreign first minister after all. So,
Social media appointment.
when that name confirms, I'll give you a call.
Very well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Enjoy your rest of your evening.
Thank you. God bless you.